Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Piyush and this is video number 2 in the series Certified Kubernetes Administrator, an end-to-end playlist for all the concepts, demos, hands-on for Kubernetes certification exam, and it is based on the latest curriculum as per 2024. So in the previous video, we have discussed all the container fundamentals, why it is even required, how it works, how it is different from virtual machine, and a lot of other details. So if you are aware of the basic fundamentals of containers, then it's okay to skip that video. Else, I would highly recommend starting from that point. And in this video, we'll be doing a demo of Dockerizing an application from the beginner's point of view, starting from the beginning, like how do you write a Docker file, how do you send instructions to Docker engine to run multiple commands to execute your container, and finally to host your application. And we'll be doing all that. Again, all the details will be there in my GitHub repository. Link is there in the description section. And without any further ado, let's start with this video. As this is a hands-on demo video, so I would highly recommend installing Docker on your computer, whichever operating system you are using, irrespective of that, so that you can follow along with the video or you can do the hands-on. If for some reasons you are not able to install Docker on your machine due to resource constraint or any other issue, what you can do is you can spin up a temporary sandbox environment provided by Docker itself, and you can do the hands-on over there as well. So let me show you how you can do that. So you go to playwithdocker.com. So this is the website URL. I'll provide the link again in the GitHub repository and in the description section. So go over to this URL, and then it'll ask you to sign up or sign in using your Docker credentials. If you have not signed up to your Docker yet, I guess this is not the correct URL. So what you can do is you can Google it, play with Docker, and go to this first link, which is hosted on docker.com, and then sign in. If you have not signed up on docker.com or Docker Hub, it will prompt you to sign up first. So do that sign up. And once you are signed up, you can just log in with your signed in email address. Now, here are all your repositories because this is a Docker Hub. Remember, in this diagram, when we see there is a central repository that we use to store all your images. So this repository is Docker Hub, right? Here are your different repositories which will have different images and tags. Now let's search play with Docker, right? And go to this second URL which says labs.playwithdocker.com. Okay, and because you have already logged in to Docker Hub, it will not prompt you to log in again, and you can just click on start. Okay. Once you do that, it will provide you a sandbox environment, something like this, right? It will have an auto timer of 4 hours. So after 4 hours, this session will be terminated. So make sure you do the hands-on before that, or you can spin up a new session, right? So click over here, add a new instance, and it will provision a lightweight virtual machine for you. So this is the sandbox environment that you'll be working on. It has an internal IP, it's a private IP, and you can open the port as well to access your application, right? So you can use this. Yeah, it's a Linux based system. So you can do, so this is the internal IP. Or do a host name -i. So this is the same IP 192.168.0.18, what's been mentioned over here. You can use this one as well, or in this video I'll be using my Docker installation. So I have installed Docker Desktop. So what you can do is download Docker Desktop for like whichever operating system you are using. So if you go to this URL Docker Desktop, it will give you the options. Like by default it detected that I'm using Mac, so that's why it is showing me the download link for Mac. But on the drop down you have different option: Mac for Intel chip, Mac for download for Windows, or download for Linux, right? So you can choose whatever installable you need, and then install it. Installation steps are pretty straightforward, next next next, click click click, and then accept terms and agreements. And that's it, right? Once you do that, once you signed up to it, and once you logged into it, you will see something like this. So this is your Docker Desktop GUI, right? It will have all the running containers over here. all the images will be here. So this is your local image registry. This is not the Docker Hub. This is local image registry. You see over here, it says local, right? And then this is your remote repository. Remote repository that is hosted on Docker Hub. And they have recently introduced the integration with Artifactory as well. So Artifactory is a tool by JFrog. It is again a image repository where you can store your Docker images and other packages as well, not just the Docker images, other images like your tar file, zip file, npm packages, and so on, right? So for now, we'll be using these two, local and Docker Hub, and we'll be focusing on containers. Volume will be covering later in this course, not at this moment. We will not be using it at this point of time. We'll be doing that later. All right, so let me go back. Okay, so on the left, is my terminal window where I'll be running all the commands. And on the right will be where it will show you the diagram that will be referring in this video. This we have already discussed in the first video and a lot of other diagrams. So this will be following. So as you see, the first step is to create the Docker file, right? But before that, we need to have our application ready to be Dockerized, right? So what I'll do is I'll pull an application, I'll pull a sample to-do list app from the docker.com, from the same website, and then we can start with Dockerizing it, pushing the image to Docker Hub, pulling it on different environments, and finally running the container. I will also show you different commands that we can run along with it. Right, so let's start with this. So let me copy the repository URL. I'm gonna make a new folder. Let's call it day02 code. Okay, cd into that. I'm changing directory and going into that particular folder. Now, if I do ls, there is no file. I just do the directory listing. There are no files in this folder because I have just created it. Now, the next step is I'm going to clear the screen and then I'll run git clone command. So git clone will download the entire git repository into my local repository, right? So this is the repository URL. Its link will be there in the GitHub repository that I'll be creating. So don't worry about it. So hit enter and then it will download the application. So if you do an ls over here, you will see a folder which says getting started app. Now change directory into that folder, cd into that. And again, I'm going to clear the screen to make it clear. And then I'll do ls again with a different other options such as in reversive order, in order of sorted by latest update or latest modified time. So this is what you will see, right? It'll have different files. It'll have a readme file, package.json, spec, source folder, and then yarn.log. Okay, so I have my file ready. I have my repository ready. Now what I need is a Docker file, right? So for that, let's clear the screen again and let's create an empty file. To create an empty file, we use touch command. So touch Dockerfile. I will use the default naming convention of Dockerfile, which is uppercase D and then everything else in lowercase, right? I have created the file. Now I'm going to do a VI into Dockerfile. It's a visual editor to make changes to a file. It will open the file in your terminal window and you can make the changes. Now, once you open the VI editor, it will be open in the escape mode. To make any changes, to edit, update, or delete anything in this file, you have to go in insert mode by pressing I key on your keyboard. So I have pressed I, and now you see at the bottom left corner, it says insert. Now you can add your values to it. Now you can add all the fields that you need. So to write the Docker file, there are different instructions, there are different commands that you can use. So we'll start with the very basic one and then we'll move from there. So first, to start an application, to run any application, you need a base image, right? You need a base operating system on which you'll be installing your app. Because this app, as I mentioned in the previous video, this app or this container will contain your application code, your OS, your application dependencies, libraries, and everything. So we need to have a base image first. So the instruction starts with from and then the name of the operating system image. So we'll be starting with a node image. Like we can use an Ubuntu, CentOS, Fedora image as well, but it will not be lightweight, right? It will be an operating system with some default dependencies and libraries. And what we need is a Linux based operating system with Node installed already. So even though we go with Ubuntu or anything else, we have to additionally install Node on top of that. Instead, Node already provides you an image. So if you go to Docker Hub, let's go over here. Okay, search Docker Hub and let's say search Node. Right. So this particular Node image is already available. There is a sign next to it which says this is a official Docker image and it is safe to use. It is stable. And if you click on that, it will show you different tags and Docker file and how to pull that image and everything else. So these tags are nothing but different version of this Docker image, right? So it will have commit IDs for different operating systems, different commit ID for different operating system, and there are different versions of it. And there is a default tag which is LTS. LTS is the latest tag if you see over here. And there is a default tag which is latest. So if you don't specify the image tag, it will pull the latest image. Okay, so that's what we'll be using. We'll be using the node image, and this node image is based on node 18 Alpine. So Alpine is a lightweight Linux based operating system which has, again I said, minimum dependencies, minimum libraries, and it will not take a lot of space. So that's what we'll be using. Then we have another command which says work directory. So all the keywords that we'll be using in this will be in uppercase. Right? So work directory is where you will be doing all your work inside the container, right? So inside the container, you will create a folder called /app at the root level, and everything will be done on this particular folder, right? So this you can choose as per your requirement, but I'm just going with the default conventions. So once you do that, the next thing you have to do is you have to do the files that are there in your local file system. We just cloned a Git repository. So it will have a different file. It will have package.json. It has the source code and everything else, right? So we need to move that file, or we need to copy all those files inside the container so that the application will spin up using that as the source code, right? So for that, we'll use the copy command. Copy from the current directory in my local file system to the work directory in my container, right? So this is also the one dot space and then another dot. So the first dot is my current directory, and the next dot is the work directory inside the container where I'm currently at. So when you ran work directory, so it is equivalent to doing a cd into /app. So you are there in /app, right? So source is current directory and destination is also current directory of the container. That's what it will do. It will copy all the files. And then once the file is copied, you execute the command by run. So you need to now install all the dependencies of that application. So we'll be using yarn as the package manager and install hyphen production. So that's the command. If you are not a developer, you won't be aware of all the instructions. This is just a sample app, right? So it's not something that is big enough to have all the commands and all the prerequisites, and you will not be aware about it. But let's say you're working somewhere in an organization, and if it is not a startup, if it is not a small enterprise, these Docker files are usually created by developers, right? This is not something that a DevOps engineer do. Yes, they do it for their POC work, for other things, but for the application code that is there in the prod environment, developers usually create this file. But as a operations engineer, as a sysadmin, as a DevOps engineer, as a cloud engineer, you should be aware of end-to-end syntax, end-to-end flow of Docker file. How do we create it? How do we optimize it? And what are the best practices of it, so everything. Yes, so this is really important step to understand how do we create the Docker file and why do we have so many steps and like each of them, right? So this command will run the command yarn install hyphen hyphen production, and then we'll be using another command which will actually be responsible for executing your container, right? So once you have all the dependencies installed, and when you are ready to start the container, when you issued the docker run command, this command will be executed. So this command is node and then comma, then we'll be executing the index.js file, which is there inside the src folder. So src index.json, and let's put that in double quotes as well. Okay. Till now, you have created an operating system, you have provisioned it, you have gone to the work directory, you have copied all the file from the local directory to the container, you have run all the dependencies, installed all the dependencies, and you have executed index.json file so that your pages will be rendered. It's a static application, your pages will be rendered. But then you also have to do one more step, which is exposing this application on a port. Without exposing this application, your application will not be rendered on a public internet or on a specific port. You have to expose the application. So we do that with the help of expose command, expose and the port number. So I'll be using port number 3000. Okay, so that's the entire Docker file. Once we have validated everything, once we are ready to move ahead, what we'll do is we'll go to the escape mode. I'll just press the escape button on my keyboard and then press shift colon. So you see on the left bottom there is a colon symbol that appears, and then WQ, that means save this file, and then exclamation mark, this will close the file. If you do Q exclamation, that will just close the file without saving it, right? So we have to save the file and then close it. So WQ and then exclamation and hit enter. All right, a Docker file is now saved. So if you do ls again, you see the Docker file has some content. It is 118 KB. Okay. Now the next part is we have to build the Docker image. Okay, so I'll just go back again to this diagram. So you see you have created the Docker file. Now you have to build the Docker image. So we do that with the help of Docker build command. Now clear the screen, and yes, you don't have to remember all the commands, but once you do the hands-on, once you practice it enough, you don't even have to remember. But for the beginner, if you are starting with the Docker, what you can do is you can run, let's say, Docker and hyphen hyphen help. Because this is a CLI, it will provide you all the instructions, all the commands and arguments that you can use. Okay, so do that, Docker hyphen hyphen help. Okay, it will spit out a lot of details. So what we need is go up, and okay. So what we need is, so Docker run for running the container, Docker exec to get inside the container. We'll see everything. Now Docker build is what we need, right? So this is a common command. Now go back, clear the screen, Docker. We know now we need to run build. So build and hyphen hyphen help again. It will show you further arguments. So Docker hyphen hyphen build. And so here it is so it also has the alias, Docker build X, build option path. Okay. So you can go through all those and then you will be familiar with all the arguments and what you need to pass as part of any command. So for now, I'll run Docker build hyphen T and the name of the image that you want to create. So let's call it day 02 to do. Okay, and dot, that means use all the files inside the current directory, and my Docker file is there in my current directory. Okay, and hit enter. Okay, once you do that, it will build the image. Now you see whatever steps you have used, it creates a new layer of every step. So if you do a cat on Docker file, you see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different steps inside the Docker file. So it will create the image in 6 different layers. So this is how Docker creates the image. It will create the image in layers and then combine it together. When you pull the image or push the image, it will do the same. It will disintegrate that into different layers, ship it, and then integrate again back in one layer. It helps with the faster processing. It helps with maintaining the Docker image, and all of its components, right? So you see over here, it created few layers. I'm not sure if it has created all the layers, but it has created 4 layers, I guess. And all the layers were, from it. It has taken the Alpine image. Then it created the work directory, copy, yarn, and I guess it did not. Yeah. So the last 2 commands, it did not create the layer for that. Okay, so it created 4 layers. Now, what it will do is it will export the layers. You see, it does not export the entire file at once. It exports in layers, and this is a unique commit ID that it created for this particular image. And now the image is ready. So how we can see that image, right? So clear the screen and run Docker images, right? I'll clear. Okay, and if you see over here, there is an image created with the name date 0222 about a minute ago. Image size is 217 MB. Image tag is latest, and that's the image ID. Okay, because we did not specify any image tag, so it took the latest as the default tag. Now we have our image ready in our local system. Now we can view that from Docker Hub as well. So if we go over here, right, let's go to Docker Hub. Oh, not here, because this is the remote repository. So I'll go to Docker Hub. This is my Docker Hub, sorry, Docker Desktop, not Docker Hub, Docker Desktop. Go to images, and you see over here is my latest image, which was pushed just now. So if you click on that, right, it has different layers. So over there it was showing 4 layers, but it has 14 layers for every single command that it created, even inside the container, right? So that's what it does. Okay, and right, it took 2 base images, one from Alpine and one from Node Alpine, and then this one, the final image, right? So that's how you can make sure that your image has been created. Okay, now let's go back and go to a diagram. So we have built the image, and the image is there in our local system, in our local repository. Now we have to push the image into a image repository, for example, Docker Hub. So again, you have to do a login into Docker Hub. Let's create a new repository. So let's call it test repo. Okay, and I'll make this a public repository, hit create. And now when you are ready to push the image, these are the commands that you need to run. You have to tag the image first, and then you have to push it. So I'll copy this command, okay, and hit create. All right, so my repository is created. It does not have anything at this moment. It does not have any bills or tags, right? So I'm gonna go over here, back again, clear the screen, and now I have to tag the image first, right? So let's skip this command, and now we need to use the local name. Local name is to do. Okay, let me check it once. What was the name? Day 02 hyphen to do. Clear the screen. Okay, tag was latest. Day 02 to do, and then the new repository and tag name. So new repository is this one. It will go with Piyush Sachdeva, my username, and then test hyphen repo, and the tag name is latest. Okay, and hit enter. Now, if I clear the screen and do Docker images now, you will see a new image. Okay, so earlier we had day 0222. Now we have a new image with this tag. So when we push that image, it will push that to this particular user or organization and in this repo, test repo, okay, which is what we've created on Docker Hub. Okay. Clear the screen and now we are ready to push the image. So what we can do is Docker push, again, username, the one that we use to tag the image, and then test hyphen repo, and then latest. Okay, hit enter. Now, what it will say, the push refers to a Docker repository that, oh, I misspelled it. So clear the screen and I'll remove the extra P from repo. Okay, now hit enter. Now it says requested access to the resource is denied because we did not authenticate ourselves to the Docker Hub, right? Even though it's a public repository, we should have access to push anything over there. We have not authenticated ourselves, right? So let's do a Docker login. So I'll run the command Docker login. These are the same credentials that you use to sign up to your Docker Hub. So do a Docker login and it will ask you for the username. I'll enter my username and the password. Okay, if you have provided the correct credential, it will show you the message that login succeeded. Now clear the screen and run the Docker push command again. Okay, it's preparing the image and now it should be able to publish it. So it published the image and this is the latest digest, the SHA-256 term, which is a unique ID to this image. And if you go back over here, go to tags, you will see a new image has been uploaded over here. There is one more thing I'll show you. Okay, so you do Docker images again. Right over here, you see the image size was 217 MB, but when it pushed to Docker Hub, it was 81 MB because it automatically compressed that file. Now, this image is there in your Docker Hub registry. So this step is also completed. Now, as part of the next step, we'll have to pull that image on one of our environment and then run the container. So to pull the image again, let's say this environment is not my local environment. Let's say this environment is something on a different machine, on a different virtual machine if you have, or you can use the Play with Docker, the lab environment that I have shown you. So you can use that as well to pull the image. Repository name was, okay, here it is. Oh, it will show you the command as well, right? So I can just directly copy the command. So clear the screen and Docker pull. Okay. So it says because I already had that image in my local system, because we created in this system, it says image is up to date. And if there was any changes, it will just download that changed layer. Okay. It will not download the entire image. It will download the changed layer. So here we are, we have pulled the image. Now we have to run the Docker run command. So Docker run, and then we have to, okay, I'll show you the command as well. And Docker run hyphen help. Okay, there are a lot of options, but for now we just need a few options, which is okay, we need detach and then container run alias or Docker run. Okay, so what we can do is, okay, so we'll run Docker run and -d. D is in detach mode. That means it will run the process in the background. You don't have to open a new terminal to access the container, right? So detach mode, and then P for exposing the port. Remember we said it's going to expose on a particular port, and that's what we mentioned in our Docker file. So port, we have to do the port binding from 3000 external port to 3000 internal port, and then the name of the image. The name of the image was, yes, test repo, or like I'll give the entire name, test repo latest, and hit enter. Now it will spit out a container ID. This is the unique ID to this container. So now to see if the container is actually running, you can run command docker ps. Okay, it says up 11 seconds. In this command, we did not specify any name, so it will take a random name. So this is the random name that it took, friendly panini, but we can specify the name parameter in the docker run command. And it is exposed on port 3000. So that means it should be accessible on localhost 3000. So if I go over here and let's say localhost 3000, right? My Docker app is here. So date to, okay. And then I can delete it or, make any changes. I can add additional items. So this is basically a simple app to get you started with, right? So now our application is running. So this is one environment. Let's consider it dev. You can take this image and then you can pull the image in a different environment, test and prod, and then you can run the command again. It will use the same dependencies, same operating system, same libraries and everything that we've packaged inside the container, right? So this completes our this part. Now I'll show you a few more commands. Let's say you have to troubleshoot the container. There are some issues. It's not working as expected. So you have to go inside the container. So what you can do is you can do a docker exec. So this is the command that you use to go inside the container. This is similar to doing the SSH into the container. So docker exec -8 so that it opens it in interactive mode. Right now, the name of the container or the container ID. So name was friendly panini, and then the command. So command you will be running as bash or sh, right? So bash, and it says executable not found because Alpine image was built on sh. So you can open that in sh shell. Okay, now you are inside the container and you see when you entered into the container, by default, you have gone to /app directory because this is our working directory. If you do an ls over here, you will see all the files and it has the node modules folder as well, which is not a best practice. And if you clear the screen, let's say exit the container. So now you are in your local terminal. You see Docker images. Oh, we have already seen that. So Docker image size was 200 MB. That's too big for an Alpine image, right? So now as part of the next step, what we have to do, we have to incorporate some best practices into it. We have to make sure that size is as minimum as possible because this is just a simple to do app with some static files. It should not go to that huge size. What if we have a bigger container with a lot of functionalities? It can go to many more GBs, right? We don't want that. So to avoid all this, what we can do is we can use, oh wait, let's not spoil it. So let me know in the comment section below if you know what we need to use to make the image size smaller and to use all the best practices. And if you're not able to figure out, don't worry, we'll cover that in the next video. I hope for today it was enough. For today, you were able to Dockerize an application. You can use any sample application from your repository from GitHub, or you can create your own application and try to Dockerize it. And let me know in the comment section if you are able to figure out the next steps. And if you are facing any issues, any difficulties in implementing this, feel free to reach out. I will share all the links in the GitHub repository, all the Docker file and everything that we have discussed, including the diagrams. So it will all be there. So thank you so much for watching and thank you so much for showing the patience till now. And I will see you tomorrow or day after tomorrow with the next video. I forgot to tell you the comment target for this video is 100 comments and 200 likes in next 24 hours. So if you can get that, I will definitely upload another video in the next 24 hours. So I will see you soon and thank you so much for watching and have a good day.